No, it's okay. I know my role in this show. I'm the reactor. Ooh, that's a cool superhero name. The reactor.
Just waits for shit to happen and then does something.
Exactly.
And then
Like the Avengers.
Yeah.
You can't avenge something that hasn't happened yet.
That's true. They can't be proactive.
Yeah, they're not the pre-Vengers.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to a very special The Way We Nerd presents Infinity Watch. I am Danny Villalobos. With me is Kyle Bound.
Yes, I am Kyle Bound.
Joshua Potter, sitting in his car.
Hey there.
Joining us remotely, as it were. So I'm very excited about this show. Not because I don't like Russell and John, because I love them dearly. But this is kind of cool because it's the first time in a long time that the three of the four original nerds, excluding Moorhead, because he was scheduled to appear, but we had to bump him from the show. Yeah, we ran out of time. Exactly, we ran out of time before the show started. So we totally Matt Damon him down. But anyway, speaking of which, it's just really exciting to have the three of the four original nerds here. Sorry, I'm just getting all swept up in the emotion. But we're going to talk about Loki. If you guys remember, Infinity Watch is our show that focuses purely on Marvel, mostly the MCU. We haven't really talked about other Marvel stuff yet, but there hasn't really been much to talk about. I guess Venom. But anyway, that's another pod for another time. We're going to talk about Loki. And the reason I think it's this kind of fun transition is just recently, if you guys haven't seen this, Tom Hiddleston was on Kimmel, and they talked about Matt Damon playing him in Thor Ragnarok. And Kimmel, of course, Kimmel's going to rip on Matt Damon because that's the thing. And it's so funny because Hiddleston, I don't know if he slips, but he kind of says he's like, well, I know you have that thing of you and Matt Damon and running out of time and all that stuff. That he's like, well, it's not a thing. That's just we just always run out of time. I love how Kimmel plays it up like it's not a joke. Like that's really what happens. Yeah. But anyway, if you guys haven't seen it, you should see it. So
I feel like, and yes, please correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like I saw somewhere that that Damon may be in Love and Thunder. Am I making that up?
He is in there.
Okay, so I'm not making that up.
So is I believe Sam Neill's back as well.
Okay,
who played Odin in Ragnarok, and somebody else. The other Hemsworth who played the other Thor, the Thor in the play. I think it was it Luke who played him? Because it wasn't Liam.
Yeah, I think it was Luke.
It was either Luke or a fourth Hemsworth that doesn't act.
Westworld Hemsworth.
Westworld Hemsworth, yeah. Who was also a talented guy. He gets kind of lost in the shuffle. But anyway, so just real quick, before we get into theories and all and the actual show, overall impressions. Potter, what did you think of this third MCU show? Right? Yeah, third,
technically,
MCU pilot. Well, I mean, I guess we can kind of count Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because it is in the MCU, but it's kind of the lost stepchild, even though it's got pretty good towards the end. But anyway.
Yeah, well, but if you count that, then you almost have to count Daredevil and all the other ones too, all the Netflix
because they
shows.
Technically do count. Okay, so they don't count because Kevin Feige had nothing to do with those. So
this is the
Disney
third Feige.
The third
Disney
show.
Plus show.
The third.
I want to open with this. What I love is that all three of these shows have been vastly different as far as tone and theme and that kind of stuff goes. I mean, WandaVision was great. We get this nice homage to the history of sitcoms with a side of creep factor and drama and family and all of that. It's great. It's wonderful. Then we get our spy thriller action adventure buddy comedy with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or Captain America and the Winter Soldier, as we got in the last episode, which was great. And now we get Loki, which is essentially going to be, I think, Marvel's version of Doctor Who, and I am all in for that. I loved it. I thought the first episode was a great setup. Not a ton of stuff happened, I feel like, but that's okay. There were a lot of Easter eggs, which I appreciated, and we'll get into the specifics later. But the DB Cooper moment was just
we'll talk about it. That was amazing. That was amazing. Yeah.
Elena and I loved it. We were very intrigued. I love Miss Minutes, all the cartoon stuff.
Yeah.
Her name is Miss Minutes. Yeah, it's great. Everything is great. So
no, it was good. And sorry, just a side note, you made me think when you mentioned Captain America and then you went right to Loki. That made me think of is it Thor: The Dark World, where like Loki all of a sudden turns into Captain America and he goes, "This is what it feels like to be one of you," and he's just all excited, like Chris Evans basically playing Hiddleston. It's a really fun moment.
Yep.
But anyway, Kyle, what about you? What's your overall impression of this first episode of the third Marvel series?
It's funny, Potter, that you just pointed out how different they are, because I am now going to point out how similar the three are.
Oh.
Because they all seem to start with a very long setup, right? The first episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier was set up. The first episode of this is entirely set up, and it's all necessary. Like, I knew nothing about the time variant authority before, this.
Time out. Let me ask you real quick before I don't want to reach too much, Kyle. Josh, does that exist in the comics, or is that something new?
I haven't looked yet. It sounds like something from the comics. I feel like there's a couple of things that they've kind of combined for the TVA, but there might be a TVA in the comics that I'm just not familiar with. So
I mean, it is ridiculous enough to seem like it comes out of comics. Like good comics would come up like only comics had come up with S.H.I.E.L.D. with that crazy acronym for what it is. Like, that's straight comic book.
without getting too off track and totally railroading Kyle's.
Yeah, I didn't mean to go that far. I just want to know if this is
the one thing that I immediately thought of was in the most recent, in Jason Aaron's last volume of Thor, which was, some of it took place between or before War of the Realms and then right after, and kind of with War of the Realms and all that stuff. Kyle, you can tune out for this.
No, it's fine.
There's a place that Loki goes to, and then also Thor's great-grandchildren visit later in a 4-issue series.
I read that.
It's like this huge library of knowledge, basically, at the center of the universe.
I had no idea what the fuck was going on. Like, Thor's sitting around like a campfire with 3 young women, blonde women, and he's like old. I'm like, what the hell is going on right now?
We can talk more later about how.
No, it's okay. But that makes sense now. Like, that it could be. Sorry, go ahead. Finish your thought.
It could be something sort of like that. But the TVA is also very different from that too. So
we'll have to research this, see if it's
it's really interesting. The way they've got it set up is very interesting.
All right, Kyle. Sorry, that was a long interruption here. The TVA.
It's all good. But yeah, I mean, so the way, that it in WandaVision sort of took a little bit to really get going, right? It's not until that third episode that, or maybe even the fourth one, where you get that glimpse outside and you understand,
what's going on,
sort of a little bit what's going on or what this show is, right? And so this one feels like it's very much doing the same thing. I mean, the upside of that, or the thing that really makes it work, because like I could see how somebody would be like, yeah, it's a lot of explanation, it's a lot of backstory, it's a lot of exposition dump. It's basically like a 48-minute exposition dump.
Yeah,
but it's Tom Hiddleston and is it Owen Wilson? It's Owen Wilson, right? Okay, I never know which is which. But it's Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson, and like Owen Wilson just like owning the room. Like it's, so you have that. And then you have like the time, of course, the cat hasn't scratched his scratching post in literally 3 weeks. And now he's decided to do so now.
Yeah. I got you. I get it. Trust me.
But so you have the two of them, and then you have like little things like time stones being used as paperweights, or not time stones, infinity jet stones.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna get into that conversation.
Getting disintegrated, and his power's not working, and the stone's not working, and like just all of that is so interesting and intriguing. And I always end up reading, and this is a me problem, I always end up reading way too much into these shows and where they're going, and what
you wouldn't be Kyle if you didn't do that.
Yeah,
it would upset me.
There's always a version that's just like that I want them to do that's a step further than they're willing to go, but it really feels like they're going the full like time variant authorities and evil fascist organization that needs to be destroyed.
Yeah,
but I don't know that they're going to go there.
Well,
But I really enjoyed the pilot. I really enjoyed the first episode. It was nice to have Loki back.
It was.
And to see Owen Wilson for the first time, and I don't even know how long.
Yeah, it's been a while, huh?
Trust me, that's what I was going to say. You know, the way I feel about this show is like, I mean, the first thing that stood out to me was I didn't realize how much I missed Owen Wilson. Not that he went anywhere, but he hasn't really been in as many movies recently as he was for a while. For a while, he was everywhere. You know, and you know, this is I always remember him, Kyle. The blonde one, although he was gray haired in this, the blonde one is Owen, and the brown haired one is Luke. Luke is you're a 70s fan, right? Or a 70s show fan, right? Luke was
it's been so long since I watched it.
Yeah. Luke Wilson was Kelso's brother. So no, Scrubs was your show. What am I thinking?
Scrubs was my show.
I don't know why I think I was thinking that 70s show. But anyway, yeah, Luke Wilson was Kelso's brother, and he dated Donna for a time. It was kind of fun. And he always called Eric Foreskin. What's up, Foreskin? Anyway, so Owen Wilson is a treasure. I love Owen Wilson. I like Luke, but I love Owen, and he's so good in this. Like, you were so right about him owning the room, because he has such a laid back personality and also a laid back way of performing. Even when things are going to shit. I don't know if you guys ever seen, is it Behind Enemy Lines? The one with Gene Hackman, where he's like a fighter pilot that gets shot behind enemy lines.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a really good flick. If you haven't seen it, Kyle, you should check it out. But even in that movie, Owen Wilson's the action star. Like, you know, he's the pilot behind enemy lines, and he's so underrated as an actor because he's so good at being funny. And that's what most people, you know, think of him, because he's brilliant. But anyway,
it's like Brendan Fraser. You know, he does all these comedies, and then he turns around and does The Mummy, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, and he can also do dramatic stuff like The Quiet American, and a couple other honors, a couple other dramas, School Ties. Yeah, Brendan Fraser's getting his due, so that means that, you know, maybe Owen Wilson will start getting. Although it's not that Owen Wilson's underappreciated, I just think he's underrated as an actor. But
I agree.
Yeah, getting back to like everybody else in the show, all the supporting cast was great. But
oh boy,
yes, but the show is those two men. And especially, obviously, Loki. So good to have Hiddleston back. And also the fact that they don't cheapen his death, because Owen Wilson telling him, by the way, spoilers, everybody, you should know the show is always spoiler full.
Yes.
Owen Wilson, what is his character's name? I don't like you calling him Owen Wilson.
Mobius M. Mobius.
Shut up. Really?
I'm pretty sure the M stands for Mobius M. Mobius, but I could be wrong.
That is amazing. All right, Mobius. So we'll just call him Mobius. But anyway, that name seems like it should have significance.
I think
Morbius,
it is. That is a comic.
Else.
Mobius is a comic character. I don't know. And there's the thing called the Mobius strip, which is like sort of infinity, and like it wraps around it. So I don't totally understand what it is.
Which I'm sure it's probably related. But it's probably related to his character.
Yeah, it has to do with like time travel and time loops, I think, or something to that effect.
Owen Wilson is definitely more than he seems. I have a feeling he's gonna turn out to be a watcher, but that's just me. But they don't usually interfere, though, so that'd be the different thing. But anyway, but Tom Hiddleston, like, they don't cheapen his death because he tells Loki, "Hey, this happened. This is gonna happen. This is where your, you know, life's gonna head." But it doesn't mean
this always happens.
Exactly. We can't stop it from happening. But I still think that's going to be Loki's plan. He's going to try to be good, but he's also going to try to survive, because Loki's a survivor. So regardless of what he is, but I was kind of, this is one thing I'm disappointed in. I was kind of hoping we were going to get the Loki that wasn't changed yet, and he was still the mischievous, you know, the God of Mischief. And in this one, he kind of, when he sees himself die and sees all the redemption that he has, he kind of it kind of gets him caught up, if that makes sense, like emotionally and like mature wise. Like it almost like he almost grew up in that span, like watching that video of him or whatever he was watching. But anyway, that's just my thoughts.
I think what it comes down to in that scene when he watches what happens is, and he sort of alludes to this a little bit later, but I think the Loki who sort of redeems himself later was sort of always there. Like, not to dismiss his evolution as a character.
No, I see what you're saying.
I think it stems from the same place that his "I want to rule the world, I want what is rightfully mine" stems from. And I think it all comes from just this insecurity inside of him. Yeah. And I think seeing what all of his big plans ended up as, him, dying, I mean, kind of needlessly, like he was never going to succeed at the thing at killing Thanos in that moment.
Yeah.
Sort of stripped away all of that bravado and artifice that's there. He always played confident, but he never really was. His schemes never work.
Yeah.
So I think it sort of, it was essentially like 5 years of therapy in one moment, because, like he tries to use his powers, he tries to use the Tesseract, and he realizes that like in that room, he's just a really smart guy. Yeah. He's not a god anymore, and when you when you take that away, what do you have left? Certainly not a genius billionaire playboy philanthropist. You just have an insecure, extremely intelligent guy. And, once all of his tricks fall away, there's not much left.
And he always loved his adopted family, all three, yes, including Thor. Like that moment I did like, because I don't think it also gives Thor Dark World a little bit more gravitas, because I never realized it was Loki that led the monsters or the bad guys to his mom.
Yep.
I mean, was that explicitly like mentioned in the movie? I don't remember that.
It's not explicitly mentioned, but as soon as he says take the stairs this way, and then the monster goes and finds Freya's chamber, you realize, oh, he has inadvertently led them right to his mom, who he feels the closest to.
Yeah, for sure.
Other than Thor, which he won't admit that he's close to Thor. So of course, yeah, losing his mom is the thing that sends him over, as we see later in Dark World. But they don't have a line of dialogue explicitly saying you did this, you led them, and Thor doesn't know in that movie that he's.
I don't think anybody knows. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. I mean, that's just another bit of guilt that Loki has to live with at that point.
All right. Before we get into the next bit, we're going to take a little break, and when we come back, we're going to get deeper into the episode and then give our final thoughts. So, stay with us. We'll be right back for the Infinity Watch. Excelsior, everybody! Welcome back to Infinity Watch, powered by The Way We Nerd. All right, so we covered most of the stuff in the episode, but Kyle had this idea, or wanted to mention this other subject. It was the multiverse versus the single timeline, because they do discuss that in the episode. However, it does not clear anything up for me, because Kyle and I keep going back and forth on this thing, because I think Captain America starts a new timeline. He says, no, he's in the same timeline. That's not what we're going to talk about right now, but we're going to kind of talk about that.
Right now you're stepping on Kyle's corner, so you need to back the fuck off.
I thought you just said that's what you want to, never mind.
No.
Let's stick to the multiverse.
The captain of it all is,
that one, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Play heavily in Kyle's corner. Preview.
Then we'll get to that. Preview. We'll get to that in a little bit. Yes. But let's talk about how it pertains to this show.
Yes. So there's some, as far as I could tell, there are some big implications here for the past, present, and future of the MCU. Because we know at least Doctor Strange has the multiverse of madness. We've heard a lot about Spider-Man and all the Spiders-Men showing up.
Yeah, or at least somebody from each movie, at the very least.
Yeah, that's a spinoff of Kingsman, is Spiders-Men.
Spider-Mans, all the Spider-Mans.
Yes. That's a great joke on Friends about. Yeah, there's also a great joke on Friends about that. It's like, that's not his last name. He's not like Jason Spiderman. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's all good. So there's a lot of interesting stuff in this episode as far as that, because it seems very clear as of right now that there is a single solitary timeline, and that at some point far in the past there were multiple timelines, which I know is heavily played in the comics. And I think Potter, you may have to expand on this a little bit, but I believe at one point there was like a timeline, a multiverse war, and different universes were battling each other for supremacy. And it got to a point where there was like one universe at the end, and it was this sort of like mixture of multiple universes kind of thing.
Did Marvel do that or DC?
I thought
they
Marvel
all
did
did
that.
Or
I
both.
mean, come on, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Everybody does it because it's a way to reset.
That's
your
right.
shit.
You know what?
Yeah.
He is right. They did unify the universes because Miles came from the Ultimate into.
Yeah.
So there were like two Spider-Men.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're pulling on, or at least that's what they're alluding to here. Is the Ultimate Universe was encroaching upon the 616 universe, right? And it was destroying both. So what happened is, I want to say it was Doctor Doom that found a way, along with a couple other people, to basically merge the universes as best as he could. But it eventually erased the Ultimate timeline. But it brought the favored characters like Miles Morales and some of those guys into the 616 timeline.
In the comics, this was kind of a blip, but they only blipped out the characters that weren't as popular.
They weren't
if your comics sell, you survive.
Exactly.
Right.
And rightfully so, because Miles is an amazing character.
Absolutely.
As everybody got to see in the Spider-Verse.
Yeah. So there's that. So up to this point, there have maybe been tiny branches, but no alternate universes, no multiverse at this moment.
No full-on Back to the Future skew timeline.
Yeah. There's branches, but they keep getting trimmed, and then you have
when they grow back into the trunk.
Loki variant. Yeah.
Prune.
Yeah. Then you have some Loki variant out there, allegedly, just wreaking havoc everywhere he can. Yeah. Or she can. Maybe it's Lady Loki. Who knows?
They did kind of sometimes said something that they confirmed his androgyny in this episode. I don't remember seeing that, unless that's what you're saying, like that the character looked more feminine.
I have no idea, because you can't tell anything. They're wearing like a hood, as far as I can tell.
They are. So I didn't know what that. I should have read that article, but I didn't want to read it because I read it before I watched the show, so I didn't want it to get spoiled. So I didn't see anything clear. But yeah, Loki was a woman for a while in the comics. Yep.
So something is happening, and it's always difficult with these shows because it never feels like, or it always feels like something really big is going to happen at the end of one of these Marvel shows, and then it never really does.
So right now, movies.
It feels like something's going to happen here that's going to create the multiverse, but it's probably not. Who knows? I don't know.
Well, they've confirmed that. Wait, is it this one? Or they said this one leads directly into Doctor Strange. So you're probably right on that.
Okay,
it might.
Maybe it does then.
It's probably going to be a small bang instead of a big bang, but it's definitely going to I don't doubt that we'll see Strange show up in the final episode of
I mean, if this show goes so before we talk about where this show might go, I want to talk a little bit, because this was a little unclear to me and I had to have a friend explain it to me. So I want to know if this was clear to you guys, or and then I had to watch the Miss Minutes video again, and it made sense. I wanted a wider animated shot on a couple of those cuts just to understand exactly what was going on. But if I understand correctly, what happens is a variant steps out of line, or a being steps out of line, becoming a variant because they have gone off their predetermined path. At which point the TVA steps in, resets the timeline, replaces them essentially, and takes the variant version and essentially destroys them, disintegrates them. So currently, back in the real world, they have replaced Loki with another version of Loki that is going to go across the predetermined timeline. Does that sound right?
Correct.
It sounds right. Confusing, but right.
A little bit. So currently there are three versions of Loki, although time is an abstract concept in this, because it seems like the TVA exists outside of time.
Yes.
In a way.
These beings are obviously the most powerful beings in the Marvel universe. They could literally do whatever the fuck they want, but they haven't been. So,
right.
But
the most powerful beings we've seen so far.
Dude, I mean, how much more powerful you can get if you can like completely change time? Like you can totally change time, dude.
They can't change time.
Yeah, I guess they can't. You're right.
It seems that variant prime, which is what I'm going to call the Loki that's fucking with everything. There's our variant, and then variant prime, which is allegedly Loki, seems to be operating on sort of his own timeline, right? Where he's wherever he goes is happening in time with the TVA.
Yeah.
Right. So his actions are having an effect, or the TVA is seeing them on the same timeline as he's doing them. It's a little confusing for me because it's like the Earth timeline is happening in this straight line.
Yeah.
And Loki's jumping across it in his own timeline. And the TVA is just sort of here outside of that, but sort of
watching it from far almost.
Yeah. And like they can jump to wherever. So it seems like Loki's jumping out of our universe and then back in over and over again. So his actions are taking place on the TVA's timeline.
Yeah.
So this if that's how it works, that answers my ultimate like confusion about. Well, so it answers a couple things. One, they say the Avengers did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
So their time travel was sanctioned. And Thanos and all of his people. So it sort of answers some of those things, right? Like Loki fucking with the timeline never happened, right? As far as the movies in the original timeline are concerned. Yep. And Thanos jumping forward in time, I assume, also never happened because he also did things from 2014 to 2025 or 2026, whenever it was that he was killed at his farm. So that answers all of that, I think. Well, so we don't need to worry about any time fuck ups anymore, except that Spider-Man takes place at an indistinguishable period of time.
Yeah. Well, my final thought on this, and I'm going to let Potter jump in here, but I was just going to say that let me come at this power thing for a different angle. They're powerful in the sense that they can render things like the Infinity Stones, completely powerless. So they obviously, you're right, Potter. They're the most powerful beings so far, but that's pretty powerful.
Well, it's weirdly, to be super
unless those Infinity Stones,
a little more complicated than that, because
these Infinity Stones aren't really Infinity Stones.
It's the Infinity Stones are part of the fabric of our universe, right? And the TVA, for all intents and purposes, seems to exist outside of our universe.
So that's how
the Time Stone only works in our universe. The Soul Stone, the Mind Stone, etc., wouldn't work outside of our universe. Because their power comes from the universe itself.
That's true.
Yep. Well, they were, when you get the explanation of what they are and how they were created in, I guess that's Infinity War.
No, I think it's in Guardians of the Galaxy, isn't it?
No, well, you get a little bit of what the Infinity Stones are, yes, but then
but that's the one they do that story, because that's when they find out like that you can't no mortal being can hold the stone.
Yes, but
those could. I swear that was in Guardians.
Yes, but what I'm saying is they explain how they came to be in Infinity War. In the Sanctum Sanctorum with Doctor Strange and Tony and Bruce Banner, they say that the universe was created, but then it was split into these set number of elements, and each one of these elements or these stones, it's contained in a stone, and it represents that part of the universe. That's why you have the Space Stone, the Time Stone, the Soul Stone, all the Mind Stone, all of that stuff. It's all elemental forces of the original universe being created. So yeah, what Kyle is saying is absolutely correct. At least the way I understand it too, is that they wouldn't work at the TVA because, again, the TVA is not necessarily part of our universe per se.
I got you. Yeah. Well, I'm into my my annual MCU watch, because obviously every year we have at least 2 or 3 Marvel movies coming out starting the summer. Well, actually, we usually starts in February. But anyway, we're getting 3 coming up this year, which is exciting. So I'm only 2 movies in, because I haven't even watched Iron Man 2 yet. But anyway,
Pretty soon we're going to get to a point where you will have to take the entire year to watch all of the Marvel things.
It's going to be getting
close.
If you want to include the shows, holy crap! Don't even
dang.
That's an undertaking. I'd have to be retired, and that's not hopefully happening for quite a few years down the road. Yeah. So I think we're all good there. We have 2 segments, ladies and gentlemen.
So there's one more thing I want to talk about really quick. Sorry.
Wait. Why don't you include it in the Kyle's Corner?
Because it's a separate thing.
Okay.
Really, it's not part of Kyle's Corner.
Good. So Kyle's Corner is one subject. That's what.
So this is gonna be wild speculation before Potter theorizes. Although Potter, I apologize in advance if I'm stealing your theory. But the TVA just seems horrendously evil, right? Like,
hell yeah, they're evil.
They're not good guys. Like, they're just like, oh, you were late to work when you weren't supposed to be. Fuck it, you're dead. Like,
they're the CIA of the Marvel universe, and the CIA is not good.
They're worse than that because, like, you step out of line even a little, you have these tram lines. So if you step out, you're fucked. You're gone. You're dead, and fuck off.
They're the KGB or whatever the KGB has become.
Yeah, I feel like Loki's going to destroy them by the end of the season, and that's going to cause the multiverse. That's my prediction.
All right,
and I'm just throwing that out there.
All right, we'll see if that's in Potter's. Yeah. So
Potter, why don't you do your?
That leads us into
first.
Okay, that leads us into our 2 new segments that we got to introduce. Kyle kind of teased one of them, so we'll get to that one at the end. But right now, I'm going to have the man, the myth, the legend, the icon that is Joshua Caleb Potter introduce his new segment. Take it away, Joshua.
Just wreaking havoc everywhere he can. Yeah. Or she can. Maybe it's Lady Loki. Who knows?
They did kind of sometimes said something that they confirmed his androgyny in this episode. I don't remember seeing that, unless that's what you're saying, like that the character looked more feminine.
I have no idea because you can't tell anything. They're wearing like a hood, as far as I can tell.
They are. So I didn't know what that. I should have read that article, but I didn't want to read it because I read it before I watched the show, so I didn't want it to get spoiled. So I didn't see anything clear. But yeah, Loki was a woman for a while in the comics. Yep.
So something is happening, and it's always difficult with these shows because it never feels like, or it always feels like something really big is going to happen at the end of one of these Marvel shows, and then it never really does.
So right now, movies.
It feels like something's going to happen here that's going to create the multiverse, but it's probably not. Who knows? I don't know.
Well, they've confirmed that. Wait, is it this one they said this one leads directly into Doctor Strange. So you're probably right on that.
Okay. Maybe it does then.
It's probably going to be a small bang instead of a big bang, but it's definitely going to I don't doubt that we'll see Strange show up in the final episode of
I mean, if this show goes so before we talk about where this show might go, I want to talk a little bit because this was a little unclear to me and I had to have a friend explain it to me. So I want to know if this was clear to you guys or, and then I had to watch the Miss Minutes video again and it made sense. I wanted a wider animated shot on a couple of those cuts just to understand exactly what was going on. But if I understand correctly, what happens is a variant steps out of line or a being steps out of line, becoming a variant because they have gone off their predetermined path. At which point the TVA steps in, resets the timeline, replaces them essentially, and takes the variant version and essentially destroys them, disintegrates them. So currently, back in the real world, they have replaced Loki with another version of Loki that is going to go across the predetermined timeline. Does that sound right?
Correct.
It sounds right. Confusing, but right.
A little bit. So currently there are 3 versions of Loki, although time is an abstract concept in this because it seems like the TVA exists outside of time.
Yes.
In a way.
These beings are obviously the most powerful beings in the Marvel universe. They could literally do whatever the fuck they want, but they haven't been. So right. But it's
the most powerful beings we've seen so far.
Dude, I mean, how much more powerful you can get if you can completely change time? You can totally change time, dude.
They can't change time.
Yeah, I guess they can't. You're right.
It seems that variant Prime, which is what I'm going to call the Loki that's fucking with everything. There's our variant, and then variant Prime, which is allegedly Loki, seems to be operating on sort of his own timeline, right? Where he's wherever he goes is happening in time with the TVA.
Yeah.
Right. So his actions are having an effect, or the TVA is seeing them on the same timeline as he's doing them. It's a little confusing for me because it's like the Earth timeline is happening in this straight line.
Yeah.
And Loki's jumping across it in his own timeline. And the TVA is just sort of here outside of that, but sort of
watching it from far almost.
Yeah. And like they can jump to wherever. So it seems like Loki's jumping out of our universe and then back in over and over again. So his actions are taking place on the TVA's timeline.
Yeah.
So this if that's how it works, that answers my ultimate like confusion about. Well, so it answers a couple things. One, they say the Avengers did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
So their time travel was sanctioned. And Thanos and all of his people. So it sort of answers some of those things, right? Like Loki fucking with the timeline never happened, right? As far as the movies and the original timeline are concerned. Yep. And Thanos jumping forward in time, I assume, also never happened because he also did things from 2014 to 2025 or 2026, whenever it was that he was killed at his farm. So that answers all of that, I think. Well, so we don't need to worry about any time fuck ups anymore, except that Spider-Man takes place at an indistinguishable period of time.
Yeah. Well, my final thought on this, and I'm going to let Potter jump in here, but I was just going to say that let me come at this power thing for a different angle. They're powerful in the sense that they can render things like the Infinity Stones, completely powerless. So they obviously, you're right, Potter. They're the most powerful beings so far. But that's pretty powerful,
Well, it's like it's weirdly to be super pedantic, a little more complicated than that because
these Infinity Stones aren't really Infinity Stones.
It's the Infinity Stones are part of the fabric of our universe, right? And the TVA, for all intents and purposes, seems to exist outside of our universe.
So that's how
the Time Stone only works in our universe. The Soul Stone, the Mind Stone, etc. wouldn't work outside of our universe, because their power comes from the universe itself.
That's true.
Yep. Well, they were, when you get the explanation of what they are and how they were created in, I guess that's Infinity War.
No, I think it's in Guardians of the Galaxy, isn't it?
No, well, you get a little bit of what the Infinity Stones are, yes, but then
but that's the one they do that story, because that's when they find out like that you can't no mortal being can hold the stone.
Yes, but
those could. I swear that was in Guardians.
Yes, but what I'm saying is they explain how they came to be in Infinity War. In the Sanctum Sanctorum with Doctor Strange and Tony and Bruce Banner, they say that the universe was created, but then it was split into these set number of elements, and each one of these elements or these stones, it's contained in a stone, and it represents that part of the universe. That's why you have the Space Stone, the Time Stone, the Soul Stone, all the Mind Stone, all of that stuff. It's all elemental forces of the original universe being created. So yeah, what Kyle is saying is absolutely correct. At least the way I understand it too, is that they wouldn't work at the TVA because, again, the TVA is not necessarily part of our universe per se.
I got you. Yeah. Well, I'm into my my annual MCU watch, because obviously every year we have at least 2 or 3 Marvel movies coming out starting the summer. Well, actually, we usually starts in February. But anyway, we're getting 3 coming up this year, which is exciting. So I'm only 2 movies in, because I haven't even watched Iron Man 2 yet. But anyway,
pretty soon we're going to get to a point where you will have to take the entire year to watch all of the Marvel things.
It's going to be if you want to include the shows, holy crap! Don't even
Dang.
That's an undertaking. I'd have to be retired, and that's not hopefully happening for quite a few years down the road. Yeah. So I think we're all good there. We have 2 segments, ladies and gentlemen.
So there's one more thing I want to talk about really quick. Sorry.
Wait, why don't you include in the Kyle's Corner?
Because it's a separate thing.
Okay.
Really, it's not part of Kyle's Corner.
Good. So Kyle's Corner is one subject. That's what.
Yeah. So this is gonna be wild speculation before Potter theorizes. Although Potter, I apologize in advance if I'm stealing your theory. But the TVA just seems horrendously evil, right? Like,
yeah, hell yeah, they're evil.
They're not good guys. Like, they're just like, oh, you were late to work when you weren't supposed to be. Fuck it, you're dead. Like,
bro, they're the CIA of the Marvel universe, and the CIA is not good.
They're worse than that because, like, you step out of line even a little, you have these tram lines. So if you step out, you're fucked. You're gone. You're dead, and fuck off.
They're the KGB or whatever the KGB has become.
Yeah, I feel like Loki's going to destroy them by the end of the season, and that's going to cause the multiverse. That's my prediction.
All right,
and I'm just throwing that out there.
All right, we'll see if that's in Potter's. Yeah. So,
Potter, why don't you do your?
That leads us into
first.
Okay, that leads us into our 2 new segments that we got to introduce. Kyle kind of teased one of them, so we'll get to that one at the end. But right now, I'm going to have the man, the myth, the legend, the icon that is Joshua Caleb Potter introduce his new segment. Take it away, Joshua.
So I want to do a new segment called Potter's Postulates. And I hate the word postulate, so we're workshopping it, mostly because it makes me.
You're the one who came up with it.
Well, it makes me think of geometry, postulates and theorems.
Hey,
we are theorizing. So that was one of the few math.
That was one of the few math classes I did well in. Although I don't remember postulates, so I didn't stick.
I like my shapes, and I like my spatial geometry and relationships. I use it a lot for 3D design, but postulates and theorems and stuff. No, I don't need that shit. No. Get it out.
Okay, so working title.
Potter's prognostications.
Oh,
Potter's predictions. There's a lot of PPs.
It's
not called PPs.
You down with JCP? Yeah, you know me.
And we probably shouldn't call it Potter's PP because that has a whole different connotation. Anyway, so here's what I think.
Theory, Potter, theorize.
It's not Mephisto. I just want to say that now. If you're thinking Mephisto, it's not Mephisto, guys. I think because there are rumors that this part has already been cast for either most likely Fantastic Four, possibly for Black Panther 2, but I don't think it's going to happen in Black Panther 2.
No,
and I'm not talking about Namor.
Neymar's going to be the bad guy.
I'm not talking about Namor.
I hope Neymar's the bad guy because he starts as one in the comics. Well,
yeah,
keep going.
He's a dick. He's just a dick. So my thought, as far as if we need one villain for this show other than Loki, because I think even if the variant is Loki and it's a future version of the Loki that's at the TVA now through some crazy wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff, I knew you'd appreciate that, Kyle.
I know what that is. I got a shirt that says that.
Okay. I forget. You've watched Doctor Who.
That's right. My favorite doctor.
We'll discuss doctors later. I love David Tennant though. Don't get me wrong. So because that variant of Loki that they're trying to track down could actually be the Loki that is there now, just a future version.
Yeah.
Which I know gets crazy. I think that the Lokis, hear me out. The Lokis are going to wind up being good. Even the one that is trying to screw shit up for the TVA, because I do think that there is some evil, sadistic shit happening at the TVA. I mean, you're essentially 3 beings that are controlling the flow of time as you think it should flow, and saying, well, this is the way we see it, so it has to happen that way. That's like, the victors of a war writing the history books, right? They write it from their perspective, but you don't get any of the other stuff, right?
They're controlling the river by blowing shit up.
Exactly. So yeah, I think they're writing their history as they see fit and not taking into account other stuff. So I think there's going to be that whole free will struggle and Loki figuring out that, hey, I can be who I am, but also do good with that and be powerful and, you know, make a difference and that kind of thing. It's a pretty big setup for that. But getting to the villain, I think they're going to either introduce, or we will find out that this person is one of the 3 TVA beings. I think we're going to get Kang the Conqueror in this show.
Well, he's already been confirmed to be in something, right?
It's still they say he's been cast for the MCU. I don't think
what movie though?
I don't think they've confirmed it. That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
I don't think they've confirmed what they have. I could be wrong. It would make the most sense if he pops up in Fantastic Four, since he is a pretty big Fantastic Four villain.
It's probably because you and John have been saying that Kang is coming for a while. I think that's probably why I'm drawing it from.
I mean, because
there's been a lot of hints. There's been a lot of hints.
He's a huge villain, he has pretty big ties to the Fantastic Four, to Reed Richards. So the end of the episode, when you see the agents going to investigate in the grassy field, they investigate that object, they scan it, they say, oh yeah, this is what it is. They can't quite figure out what it is, but they realize they need to bag and tag it and reset that branch. And then you get the variant, who is presumably Loki, and he or she lights the field on fire and roasts all the agents, basically. That object is very much tied to Kang. So it could be an Easter egg, and that's it. Marvel just, setting stuff up, kind of like some of the Easter eggs in WandaVision that weren't fully realized in WandaVision, but at least we know they exist. It's like getting Madripoor in Falcon and Winter Soldier, and the Princess Bar in Madripoor, which is heavy Wolverine Easter egg.
Wasn't Omega Red supposed to be in the show, and he never showed up?
Yeah, that was, again, it's a rumor. It's Marvel. I think
this is the thing. They're trolling guys like you and John who know Marvel Universe in and out, and they're trying to throw you guys off, and they're like, hey, we're showing you this, but it's actually the thing that's been in front of you all along. That's why I don't think it's Mephisto, and that's why I think we might get Kang, but I don't know that Kang's going to be the villain, like the villain for this. I don't think Mephisto. This is like Kyle Shanahan in the NFL draft. He was never going to draft Mac Jones, just like we're never going to see Mephisto. So, and if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, look, it was a huge story in the NFL draft. But I just wanted to say, I hope it is somebody else though, Potter and Kyle, because I was kind of disappointed to find out when he said the variant is you. I'm like, oh man, I don't want Loki to chase Loki. Like, give me something else. Like, it's just like, because it fits into like, and I think Kyle's had an issue with this too, but our friend Jared has an issue with, good guys fighting bad guys with the same powers. Like, he says that happens in Marvel movies more than any, I mean, it happens almost in every Marvel movie. So it's just like fighting yourself. It's like, it's a cool scene in Superman 3 when he fights himself, but it's only one scene. I don't want it to be that's the whole thing. And
Bizarro. Should have been Bizarro Superman.
Well, technically that Superman 3 was supposed to be Bizarro, but they didn't call it that. But
they didn't go all in.
Yeah, exactly, because they would have confused audiences if he started speaking in weird tums like, I love you, so I, kiss you, and then he punches him.
Right.
But so yeah, I just hope it's not him chasing himself the whole time, a future version of himself or a variant version. I'm just like, I don't want that to be it. Like, that's why I think there's more to it. And I think because Kang is very much somebody who is a time traveler in the Marvel comics. And he is a pretty formidable and masterful foe. Like, he's super smart. So I would be okay with seeing Loki go up with somebody who is also super smart and a master strategist and that kind of thing, but not having it be Loki versus Loki. There are so many emergency vehicles. They're looking for you, Potter. It's crazy. No, it's always fire department. It's so weird. And first responders. Anyway, I think we might get Kang. All right. So we'll see. You say Mephisto's never going to happen.
I think Mephisto will happen.
I just mean not anytime soon. I just don't think anytime soon.
Maybe not anytime soon, but I think it'll still be sooner than any of us think. Just because Wanda has the Darkhold now. She has the book. She's looking through all this magical shit. And that is tied to Mephisto. Same with Agatha Harkness. Same with all of these things that are happening. You know, her getting her kids back. If she's searching the multiverse for her kids, and that's part of the reason behind Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and also whatever Loki does, Mephisto ties so heavily into the kids' storyline that it would be a shame if he wasn't used.
Sure.
Plus, then we would get a Ghost Rider set up. Like, there's so many things that having Mephisto would set up for the MCU.
And there's that the thing that John was talking about, the Avengers, the Young Avengers. I don't know what they're called. Is that what they're called? The Young Avengers?
Yeah, it's just the Young Avengers. Yeah.
So which two of them are, those Wanda's kids? All right. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to finish up the show with the new segment that I don't remember what it's called. But Kyle's going to introduce the next new segment.
I do.
I know you do. Let's forget it. We're going to forget it until we get back from this segment. And then we're going to give our final thoughts and we're going to be out of here. All right. We'll see you guys in a moment. Welcome back, everybody. And as you can see, the Infinity Watch, powered by The Way We Nerd, has a new guest. Actually, he's not a guest. He's a co-host. What up, Russell?
Hey, what's up, guys? Nice to be here.
Hello.
Russell Fung is here. Yes, I'm so glad. He came in a little late, unfortunately, because, work, life gets in the way for all of us. So, Russell, we're just going to, we're going to let you give your thoughts on the episode. And at the end of the show, I want to end with one thing. I'm going to see which pilot of the first 3 MCU shows was your guys' favorite. All right, here we go. Russell, what did you think about the first episode of Loki? What was the title of the episode, by the way? I don't think we said that.
A Glorious Purpose, right?
I knew he'd know. All right, cool. Go, Russell. What did you think about this episode?
I thought it was too short. I saw the runtime was 51 minutes.
Yeah.
Past midnight, I was kind of tired, but I was alert for it.
Yeah.
In a way, and I was like, 51 minutes. That seems kind of long. But when I watched it, it was not long enough. No, I
thought they were going to drop 2 episodes, but they didn't.
They dropped 2 episodes for people who went to the El Capitan screen.
That's right. Right.
And then for people who work at press, so people got the screeners and got to see 2 episodes. So I hate those people, but they're my friends too. So kudos. For this episode, where do I start? Like, he is burdened with glorious purpose. I just love the fact that that eventually we were gonna catch him up to the Loki from the Infinity War.
Yeah.
Like I knew that was gonna happen. I knew that had to happen. Like, from a creative standpoint, like I knew we had to have this 2012 Loki, like, catch up to who he was, who he's gonna be later.
Right before he dies.
Yeah, it only makes sense because, like, if you're just following him without growth, then I feel like I don't know, there'll be something missing. And so I was really happy that they did it. They gave him a look into his future, and they got that, not out of the way in the beginning. It was world building in the beginning, but they eventually got there, and I was just waiting for it, and it happened. So that made me super happy.
That scene of him watching his stuff, like, that could have really been like, feels like a clip show. But it didn't, though. Like, it was because Hiddleston's such an amazing actor. Like, he's just such a good actor. So, he elevated the material. But go ahead, Russell, keep going.
There was a lot of world building. There's a lot of drag, but I didn't mind it because I knew you had to do that for the first episode. Like, you had to, like, have some scenes, like, that seemed unnecessary, like, be there to build on the characters and interaction. I felt like the camera lingered a little too long on certain scenes.
Yeah.
But I knew it had some glorious purpose to it. So
Glorious purpose. I love it. That should be. Someone should make an alcoholic drink called that. Sorry. Go ahead, Russell. What would you say? Can we talk about what?
You're talking about the way he talks. Like everything he says is just he just chews on those words and scenes.
I mean, how, and we kind of touched on this a little bit, but how amazing is his and Owen Wilson's chemistry? Like that scene was electric. That scene felt like, Heath Ledger and Christian Bale in the interrogation room. Like it was just like cackling. It wasn't laughing like a witch. It was crackling with energy.
Yeah, and Owen Wilson is so Owen Wilson. He's just chill.
So good.
Yeah,
I love Owen.
Yeah,
I love Ms. Minutes. I love that.
Let me ask you this,
Me too.
Russell, because I was talking to the guys about my only issue with the episode. I don't really like that we're chasing another Loki. Like I don't want him to be the ultimate bad guy. You know what I'm saying? Like the variant being Loki. Like, what do you think about that?
I think nothing of it because I think that's just a stinger for the episode. I just felt like that's just the way they buttoned the ending. Oh, we need your help. Oh, who are we chasing? You or whatever. It's like
yeah, that's very TV.
very TV. I feel like
that's very soap opera-y.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of TV shows do that where the next episode, like in the beginning, they like clarify what they meant.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, now you were just doing that for dramatic stinging effect to button an episode. So I don't think anything of it. I don't think it's going to be Loki. I think it's a variant of Loki. I don't think it's going to be that.
Wait, was there? Sorry, keep going.
It's for sure Mephisto, 100%.
Mephisto.
Hell yeah, Mephisto. Another vote for Mephisto.
I'm joking.
I know
you guys, come on. Mephisto's going to be in Black Widow, obviously.
It's going to be everything.
Mephisto's going to be in Spider-Man, bro.
It'd be amazing if
Spider-Man.
It'd be amazing if every episode of What If was like had Mephisto in it.
Yeah, but he just shows up for a second and then disappears. It's like, oh wait, he's not really part of.
He's like delivering Peggy Carter / Captain America pizza.
Yeah, he's always dressed up as just like a different menial employee. Like he's a postman one day.
Mephisto's pizza.
That'd be amazing.
It's only to undo Mary Jane and Peter Parker's marriage.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Mephisto. I gotta say, whoever gets cast as Mephisto has a lot to live up to. We're building it up pretty good. Anyway, all right then. Well then, Russell, if you are pretty much, do you have any more thoughts before we kick it to Kyle's new segment?
No, I'm just looking forward to episode 2, which is tonight.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Well, you're going to get excited for this next bit because apparently this is going to make me and Kyle no longer friends. So from the way he teased it. So the man, the other myth, the other man, the other legend that is Kyle Bound is going to introduce his segment. Kyle, take it away, my friend.
I am mostly one of those things.
Mostly one of those things. Yeah.
So this is a new segment we're trying out. It's called Kyle's Corner.
Yeah.
This is my corner. This is where I sell drugs.
Sit down. I was gonna say you're more like talking to children. Sit down, children. I'm gonna read the story from the book of Kyle.
That definitely sounds better than The Wire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I on the road.
Yeah, we're a PG-13 show. We're a PG-13 show. Sorry, go.
So this is where I'm going to talk about some side thing that doesn't really have to do with the episode or the movie we're watching. This is like where, if this had existed before, this is where I'd talk about like how if global warming hadn't happened, Thanos would have won and everything wouldn't have gotten unsnapped because they never would have uncovered Captain America. You know, that's what this is for, right?
Okay.
This one happens to involve Captain America.
Yes.
Because I've always felt this, but I feel definitively that this episode and the TVA and the way they do things means that Captain America was always in the original timeline when he went back with Peggy. He was always her husband. He always went back. That was always what was supposed to happen. And fuck you if you disagree with me.
Oh, you're gonna drop it like that.
I just had to. I'm going strong for the first one.
I can't remember if Kyle. Just really quick, Russell, did you agree with that? Do you agree with that he's in the same time? You don't have to expand on it, but we can get into your response later.
But to like the Time Authority says like Infinity Stones are useless here.
Well, no, that what Kyle's saying that Captain America was always in the original
Peggy's
timeline.
husband.
I always say there was a splintered one, but Kyle says that no, it's always been. He's always.
I feel like it's a stretch. Honestly, I feel like you can say whatever you want to make.
Which Kyle's going to say. That's a good thing.
Well, so there's been this sort of there's been this headbutting a little bit. I mean, I don't think anybody's like fighting about it the way we do, or the way Dan and I do, I should say.
No.
But the writers have said he was always her husband. He went back in the Avengers timeline, and it was that Peggy Carter, right? It's the same Peggy Carter who's like dies, later, who young Captain America visits in the hospital, all of that, right?
Yeah.
The director.
By the way, her having Alzheimer's is really, really convenient to cover that.
I mean, yeah. Why else give her Alzheimer's?
Go.
That's the only reason to give her Alzheimer's.
Go ahead. Yeah,
but again, the writers, that's their view of it. The directors are like, the Russo brothers are like, no, fuck that. It's a branch timeline.
Yeah, I know. That's what's so confusing. It's like the writer of Die Hard and Bruce Willis saying, no, one's saying it's a Christmas movie, the other one's saying it's not. Stop being confusing. Get on the same page.
So this leaves us with three options now.
Yes.
Option one is they created a branch timeline and the TVA decided, you know what? We're going to allow Captain to have a branch timeline and just Captain and Peggy to have their branch timeline. This doesn't seem like an organization that makes exceptions. This is very fascist. This is very like they do exactly what they're told at every given moment. So I don't think that totally makes sense. Option two, Captain goes back to live with Peggy, and one or both of them are taken out of the timeline at that moment, and the timeline is fixed, and they're, incinerated by the TVA. Now, again, I don't know that totally makes sense because Old Man Cap shows up at the end of Endgame with the shield.
Yeah.
And if Old Man Cap doesn't show up there, okay, maybe, yeah. But he shows up there. He survives long enough to become old, right?
Yeah.
And like he's gone. He doesn't like live out another 60 years in that normal, going forward from post Thanos. So to me, the third option is the only one that really makes sense given the TVA and how this all works, is that he went back to Peggy in that timeline, lived through the next 70, 80 years, and then showed up there on the day right after he left to give Sam the shield because he was always Peggy's husband. He was, when she talks in the Smithsonian about like, oh, it was somebody Steve saved. Like it wasn't, it was Steve. It was fucking Steve. It was always Steve. Why does she still have Steve's like thing on her? She still has Steve's picture on her thing in like the 70s.
Yeah, that would be
like, come on.
That would make the husband feel real bad about that.
Yeah, but like the husband's going to feel real shitty if like he knows she's going to work every day and has like nerd.
All right, Kyle, you know why I don't want you to be right? Because if you're right, that makes me more upset that they canceled Agent Carter because we could have gotten Chris Evans on TV. Damn it! But
that would have been fun.
They would have never done that even if he did. They would have. Yeah, he would have always been off doing whatever, avenging.
No,
because he wasn't doing anything, right? He was retired in that new life he had. All right. Well,
and again, he has to, and just because everybody's like, Steve wouldn't sit on the sidelines. He would have gone and rescued Bucky. He would have done this. He would have done that. And I will just say one last time, the counter I always have to that is he couldn't. For one, if anything changed, the TVA would have incinerated him and fixed it. So maybe he tried. Two, if he changed anything, things wouldn't work out the way they did, right? The very specific things had to happen. There was one timeline out of 16 million, and that's just from Doctor Strange on Titan. If you were to go back in time and start changing things, that's going to be way more than 16 million to get to one time.
That is very true. Well, I'll just say this.
That is Kyle's corner, and do with that as you will.
I appreciate that. I like that sign. Do with that as you will. I kind of like that. I'm just going to say this, and because I want to hear about what Potter, because I can't remember where Potter falls on this one, but I am softening on your idea, and plus, you just laid out some pretty strong evidence. I won't lie with the TVA. TVA. I keep saying TBA. TVA. Yeah. Well, it doesn't.
I'll wear you down.
It's just one of those things that like the writers are usually right on, if not the directors. I hate to say it. Like, it's not dissing on directors, but the writers are the ones who are writing the story. So they're going to know the intention a lot more than the director.
The writers are the ones that had to write 20 drafts of it. And I feel like the writers are like, the writers can focus on the writing and they have nothing to really think about but the writing, and the directors are worried about literally everything else.
Plus, I'm sure the writers fought about that too, like the way you and I are fighting. No, it is. No, it can't be. It has to be. No, it won't be. Let's not do the Star Trek thing. They already did that. All right. Anyway, Potter, where do you fall on this? I can't remember.
So I will say this, and then I have to go pretty quick to pick up Elena. But
no, that's cool. We're pretty close to done.
I've always felt that he went to the same timeline, because like the original timeline, he didn't create a branch timeline because he's Captain America. He's not, I mean, yes, he's going to, he took a little bit of life for himself to live some life for himself. And I know there's a counter to this argument, and I'll get to that in a second, but he decided to live out some life, like Tony suggested, right? The only person he's going to do that with is Peggy. I mean, Peggy is who he's loved forever.
Which is why that thing with her friggin' granddaughter was so weird.
Yeah, but
it's like Monica going out with Richard's son. It's
okay.
Friends.
Yeah,
it's
but
gross.
Still, I know we've talked about that, but the thing is, he didn't know he was going to time travel at that point. Like, he's just connecting with somebody that has ties to Peggy. So I know it bothers you and it grosses you out. But how it's not his fault, and it's at least it's not his daughter or something like that.
Exactly. It's like his niece.
I'm not saying it's incest. Yeah. I'm just saying
I know.
It's like you know, going over to your girlfriend's house, seeing her 18-year-old granddaughter, and just being like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna be young forever, so you know, maybe I should. Wait.
It's not, because
not. Also, it's Luke and Leia. Luke and Leia.
Luke and Leia's worse.
No. Is Luke and Leia gross to you? Is Luke and Leia gross to you?
Well, Luke and Leia didn't know they were brother and sister, but they should have felt the thing about.
No, but you can. So then you can take that same argument and say Cap didn't know he was going to time travel.
They should have had the Marty Lorraine reaction though. Luke and Leia, like, have the Force. They should have somehow reacted like, okay, this feels weird.
Sure, but
Luke and Leia were never supposed to be brother and sister. By the time we got to Return of the Jedi,
no, because he says in Empire, there's another. You know,
it was never meant to be Leia. It was never. Meant to be
my God, that's for a Star Wars.
That's an escape pod.
That's an escape pod. But I want to hear what you're talking about, Russell, one of these days. All right, sorry, go ahead, Potter.
So the only other thing I was going to say is, okay, so yeah, my argument is he's Cap. He's not going to screw up everything the Avengers just fought for by creating a branch timeline just so he can be selfish and live with Peggy in a branch timeline. Like, he's not going to do that. But a branch timeline doesn't take away what they did, because that still happens in the main timeline. No, but I mean, then he has to make sure he puts the stone back exactly where he took it still. So I feel
how does he get to an alternate timeline without the stone?
How does he do anything? That's what I'm saying. How does he even go back to the normal timeline if he gives us the stone back? That's what I've always had an issue with.
He's still that's the thing. So
sorry, what'd you say, Russell?
You do the space stone last. And yeah, the logistics. So
you can use it and then leave it where it is?
Well, no. Hold on. He has the thing with the PIM particles, so he doesn't need the stones to travel.
I thought they used that all up.
Well, no, but PIM was back.
Yeah,
PIM came back with the unsnap. Everybody came back with the unsnap.
No, I know that, but did they ever say he got more PIM particles? If they would have said that, that would have made me. That would have made me.
No, they do. They do. Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll see. Like I said, I'm doing the rewatch. I'll get to it. I'll see it again. It's awesome that I'm forgetting things from movies, so that makes them new again.
They basically have not an infinite source of PIM particles, but they're able to collect more PIM particles so that they can put all the stones back and dissolve all those branch realities.
Why the hell did they just keep making more then? And then they would never run out. It's just like,
well, because anyway, we can get into that later. All I've been trying to say is Steve is going to do something honorable as possible, because he's Steve Rogers, he's Captain America. So while he gets to live some of that nice life for himself, he's doing it with Peggy in the main timeline, because otherwise he creates all these branch realities that create a multiverse event, and then the TVA has to step in. Now, the argument against that, of course, is because he's Captain America, how can he sit out of all of these wars and everything else and not get involved and not help? My answer to that, though, is he's Captain America. He's fought in so many wars. He's come so far between World War II to where he goes back to be with Peggy, that he's done with war. Like, he's evolved as a person and as a soldier, and he recognizes that stuff like Vietnam is a useless war. Stuff like Iraq and all these other conflicts, he's not going to get involved. He's just going to.
But he doesn't fight those wars. It's the global ones now. Like, those are minor wars between countries. Like, he's part of a world defending.
But even the global wars, I think he understands. Yes, it would be a struggle with it, like an internal struggle, but ultimately, because he's Captain America, he has to just let those happen, because they always happen.
Look,
I agree,
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with all that. I'm fine with that, because that's the same thing. Like, I'm totally fine with that. Like, that's the same thing with Superman interfering with Earth's history. I love that part of it, because if they can do that, then nothing matters. So right. I like that aspect of it. But all I'm saying is, and I'll just finish on this, is that it's like my problem with Bruce Wayne in the Nolan movies. To me, the character that I've been reading my entire life, Steve Rogers and Bruce Wayne in the same way, would never stop. Like, the mission is never over for these guys. So, but I'm willing to forget that and understand, hey, this is the story that this group of people are telling. And in this story, because Cap does deserve that. So does Bruce Wayne. Both of them deserve to step away. And I love that Michael Caine is happy that, Bruce got away. And I love that Bucky is happy that Steve got to live his life. Like, Bucky's performance, that subtle performance he has, Sebastian Stan at the end of Endgame with the old Cap, is so good. And people don't talk about it too much. It's so good.
Look at it this way. This will be a nice capper on your point. Cap doesn't quit. He is still fighting by not doing anything. He's fighting to preserve what needs to happen, what always should happen, so that all of these events line up and all of his friends can continue their life and not have to deal with all these branch realities and everything else. So technically, he doesn't ever stop or ever give up. He just takes a back seat and lets things commence as they should. And that is still a form of fighting and being a hero. So there you go.
I would also suggest that
Luke quit too, damn it.
I would also suggest that he knew he was going to go back when he went back in the 70s and saw his picture on her desk. I think that's when he knew. He's like, she's supposed to be married now. There's supposed to be another guy. And my picture's on her desk. So maybe that guy's, maybe I can do this. Like, maybe we win and I go back.
I like that.
All right. Russell, you got any final thoughts, my friend?
I agree with all of you guys. I go with whatever. So I go with lost time travel theory, which is whatever happened happened. Whatever happened had always happened. So I pile there. Where I never gave it much thought until now, but like, oh, he lived his life. I just assumed it never showed his life with Peggy. It just showed that he danced with her at the end. And you just assume he had a life with Peggy, but we don't know if he just became a vagabond, a nomad. We don't know.
That's true. We don't know what happened there. Yeah. And he doesn't say it at the end. I was like, no, I don't think I will.
I mean, he's got the ring on.
He does. But he doesn't know. He could have married somebody else, not Peggy. But Yeah, no, he did.
That's not
I
a good
understand.
story.
I get it. Cap deserves his happy ending.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is interesting because there are adventures that he could have gone on after he goes back.
Totally.
And we just don't know what they are because we haven't seen them, but they always happened.
I guarantee you he's not going to turn a blind eye to somebody who needs help that, that's in a smaller setting.
Yeah.
So Steve Rogers is still going to be, I hate bullies, and he's always going to stand up for the little guy. So anyway, I don't know what happened to Potter, but he kind of froze with his hand on the screen. That was kind of crazy.
There you are. I'm picking up.
We're wrapping it up. We're wrapping it up right now. We're wrapping it up right now. This is the end. All right, everybody. So that was the Infinity Watch, powered by the Way We Nerd. I am Dan Villalobos. With me is Kyle Baum.
That's
Russell
me.
Fung. Russell Fung. Say goodbye, Russell.
Goodbye.
And Joshua Potter. Got to go pick up the wife.
Right.
All right. Get in there and say hi to her. All right, everybody. We will see you next time. Excelsior.
Adios.